Tonight, for the first time in over 150 years, the insurrectionist clause of the U.S. Constitution has been used to remove a public figure from office. This is overtime.
In the next 71 days, we're going to see some very violent fireworks.
Good evening, all. We are learning that a New Mexican judge has removed Otero County Commissioner Coy Griffin. We're going to be speaking about him in a minute. We can hold on this footage for a minute, but he has been removed from office. He participated in the January 6th insurrection. He was apparently, really, that I can tell, just present. He was present, but he is already a well-known and controversial person. The Citizens for I think it's Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, also known as CREW, sued to have him removed under the 14th Amendment. We're going to read that in a minute. This was also the amendment that they tried to get Marjorie Taylor Greene off the ballot using. So Marjorie Taylor Greene, in Georgia, there was a group of people who contested her eligibility to be reelected, saying that she had violated the 14th Amendment. She said in the testimony there, quote, "I don't remember," over 50 times about tweets that she clearly made that were supporting the rioters. Nonetheless, the judge found that she could remain on the ballot. We'll discuss what the downstream implications of this are in just a minute. But this section of the amendment was last used in 1869. So it's one that a lot of people haven't had to worry about, but nonetheless, as of today, a New Mexico judge has ordered that Otero County Commissioner Coy Griffin be removed from office effective immediately for violating the Insurrection Clause of the 14th Amendment. Let's read that clause, and we'll tell you what it says and why this is important here. So Section 3 of the 14th Amendment says, quote, "No person shall be a senator or representative in Congress or elector of president and vice president or hold any office, civil or military, under the United States or under any state, who, having previously taken an oath as a member of Congress, or as an officer in the United States, or as a member of any state legislature, or as an executive or judicial officer of any state, to support the Constitution of the United States, shall have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same, or given aid or comfort to enemies thereof." But Congress may vote by 2/3 of each house to remove such disability. Again, they tried this on Marjorie Taylor Greene. They said that she was inciting insurrection. She clearly supported the January 6th insurrection and continues to say things that are patently false in regards to the election and how it was run. Unfortunately, the complaint against her was unsuccessful, and she remained on the ballot and was hence reelected. However, in this case, this man, and I'm having a very hard time with his name here. He was Otero County Commissioner Coy Griffin. Has been removed for violating the Insurrection Clause of Article 14, again, for the first time in over 150 years. The reason this is important is because a lot of government officials, including members of Congress, were supportive of the insurrection, at least at first, if not sort of now, still kind of under the table, like the whole election was rigged, and we need to fight that and all of that other stuff. Matt Gaetz and a few others are potentially in a great deal of trouble now. This proves in principle that despite the fact that the law basically hasn't been used since the Civil War, that it's still applicable and that judges are interested in applying it. This is a proof of concept. It's a county commissioner. It's a reasonably small office, although this county commissioner is unique, as we will get into in just a minute. But it means now that anybody who was involved in January 6th, who holds public office, is now in jeopardy. Whether or not they can be removed, who knows? Again, this was not successful with... it was not successful with Marjorie Taylor Greene, but I'm curious if they can try again. I know somebody's going to sit there and say double jeopardy. I'm going to look into whether or not they could try again, but and possibly in a federal district as opposed to something in Georgia. But at any rate, certainly all of the members of Congress that were involved in the insurrection now have a problem, and Trump has a problem, because even in the unlikely event that Trump were to find any path to victory, which I think would be difficult, he's violated his own law on the handling of classified documents, and it's irrefutably clear he's done that. He cannot... You can try he declassified, and no, under every scenario that he has put forth, he has violated that law. He signed that law, and that law says that at a minimum, anyone who mishandles classified documents cannot run for any federal office. So by that law, he's barred. Even if he survives that, if he's not indicted for something along the way, if however he continues to see some path forward. This is now a new impediment, because if just some county clerk who was there, who wasn't really stirring up, we'll get into it, but, he wasn't breaking things to the best of my knowledge, and he certainly wasn't the one who proposed the insurrection. If he can be found guilty and if he can be removed from office, it's hard to imagine any scenario whereby Trump cannot be. So, I think people are going to sit there and say, well, it hasn't happened yet, it hasn't, and who knows what's going to happen in the future. But if you're sitting there trying to plan as a Republican for who your candidate is going to be and how you're going to get them elected, you've got a very real problem of, at this point, even if he gets elected, there is now a very clear path for removing him. So we're going to see, again, the biggie here is it just demonstrates that in principle now any member of the government at any level, state, federal, can be removed if they participated in January 6th in any way. Again, the New Mexico, let me just catch this again. New Mexico County Commissioner Coy Griffin has been removed from office by a New Mexico judge for violating Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. That's the Insurrection Clause. The court found, let's see, the historic, I had a quote from the judge here, but no, okay, I don't have it, but at any rate, no, that's not the court. But the court's findings that Mr. Griffin engaged in repeated efforts to mobilize a mob, incite them to violence on January 6th, amplify the court's conclusion that he is unqualified to hold office under the 14th Amendment. So we'll see. My suspicion is that we are going to see over the next couple of weeks and maybe month a large number of new cases being brought. If you are a government official and you said anything in support of this insurrection, you are now in jeopardy. And it's basically up to a judge. It's not not a trial by jury. You may find a judge who's sympathetic. Marjorie Taylor Greene did. You may find one that's not. Every single member of Congress who participated in this or supported it in any way, and we know of at least 5, they are now all in jeopardy. It's been demonstrated it can be done, so we will see. Double jeopardy applies to criminal charges, and double jeopardy does not apply. So if they sued her at the state level to say that, which I think, first of all, if they sued just to keep Marjorie Taylor Greene off the ballot, if that was the suit, which is what it struck me as, on the grounds that she was not qualified, then they can have another bite at the apple if they are suing to have her removed on the grounds that she was not qualified. So that's the first one. Now, they may find double jeopardy because the reasoning's the same and the decision on her qualifications may already have been reached. But nonetheless, that's one way they may get a second bite at the apple. The other one is if it looks like they did it in state court and were acting as citizens of Georgia, if they're acting as citizens of the United States, suing their representative, they probably get a second bite that way too. So we'll see. I honestly don't know, but right now, what's most important, I think, is it's been done. It's been over 150 years. The insurrection clause of the 14th Amendment has now been used to remove a county commissioner from office. That amendment applies to any public position. It applies to them federally and at the state level, which was a little surprising. We were actually looking at that and discussing it beforehand. But yes, it turns out that at the state level, it's any office in any state or in the federal government. So it's actually rather broad, and I think we're going to see now that it's been shown it can be used on a little fish. I think we're going to start to see it used on the bigger fish much more frequently. So who is this county clerk? He's county commissioner. He was county commissioner. He is no longer county commissioner. Let's take a look at this guy. A rather toxic human being. We're going to play a few clips. I don't want to give him much more air than we have to, but let's hear who this guy is.
To Africa and form your little football teams over in Africa, and you can play on a.
All right, I think the sound there is a little low, so why don't I boost the sound on that? Give me. So it may have just been low for me. You guys can report how the sound was. I'm just gonna up the sound a bit. Here we go. So I'm gonna up the sound a bit, and we'll try that again. You get the gist of what he was already saying.
On a old beat out dirt lot, and you can play your black national anthem there. How about that?
The county business on the travel voucher is settled, done, gone. Plain and simple. I'm gonna ask
If the recall isn't county business, then why are you and Vicky both supporting it on the county platform as county commissioners? If it's personal and not county business, Gerald, answer me that one.
I am not going to answer.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't either.
Okay, Mr. Britton, I will tell you, I am tired of this.
Okay.
This circus act, BS going on. We can't even have a professional county meeting because you keep throwing all this up.
And so that's why you say somebody's made racist statements and that I promoted violence like you did in that slanderous statement that he made?
Let me ask you about the racist statement. I did tweet you that. Commissioner Markle did too. You talked about the black kneeling and not wanting to do. You didn't say one word about the white guy kneeling.
The white guy kneeling?
In their national anthem?
What do you mean?
You're football players. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Vote for an answer. We're not going to get our election stolen from us from China.
He warned on his Facebook page that there could be another rally.
We could have a Second Amendment rally on those same steps that we had that rally yesterday. And if we do, then it's going to be a sad day because there's going to be blood running out of that building. But at the end of the day, you mark my word, we will plant our flag on the desk of Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer.
her friends that I was sitting there with, and she sat down right there with me. And I talked to her for about 30 minutes. And ever since that day, I've been back and forth with her on a lot of the stuff.
Should be a military coup here. Should be a military coup here to force Joe Biden out of the White House and reinstate Donald Trump as the rightful president of the United States.
Simple Marine, I want to know why what happened in Myanmar can't happen here.
Griffin scaling a metal barricade to get to the inaugural platform. These images were taken from video turned over to the FBI by Griffin's camera operator. Federal prosecutors also point to comments made by Griffin just days after the insurrection at a county commission meeting.
There was some fencing up, and they were saying that you couldn't go any further because this was being reserved for Joe Biden and his inauguration. Well, you tell 1 million Trump supporters out there going down there, pretty soon that crowd just pushed through.
If you look at what I'm stepping off of, it's some kind of a little step ladder, a little metal object that was being used for a step ladder. I don't know what maybe it was used for before, but I'm just stepping up from one little platform to another platform, and there's people above me that are helping me.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a few more. That's a rather long video, and I appreciate the person who sent it to us. But he talks about liberals being an existential threat to this country, and they should all be killed, and yada yada yada. We've kind of heard this kind of thing before. At any rate, he has been removed. He's been removed using the insurrection clause of the 14th Amendment, and what that means is, since that hasn't been done successfully in about 150 years now, since 1869, I think there was some concern as to whether it could be done. They tried to do it with Marjorie Taylor Greene. It did not work, but in this case, it did. This sets a precedent for removing people from office for participating in the January 6th insurrection. So I think at this point, any member of Congress, and there's been a few who participated in any way, who aided and supported it in any way, is going to likely be facing a challenge. If it worked in this case, I don't see any reason why it won't necessarily work again. So this, I think, is a game changer for addressing some of the people who have continued to remain in office despite this. And I think ultimately this should be very concerning to Trump and his allies and anyone who is trying to get him reelected. But at any rate, we're going to keep an eye on it. We're going to keep an eye on it. We thank you for joining us. We will be having our regularly scheduled show next week, and also our regularly scheduled overtime will be on Thursday. So again, thank you all for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you Thursday. Good night.